Welcome back to Well, That's Interesting, the second shot of whiskey edition.
Oh, yeah. And for some of us, the second glass of wine edition.
Yeah. It's also the sane and safe space edition.
Yes,
I think.
absolutely. You are safe with us.
And hopefully a little bit, the sane part will settle in.
We'll work on that.
We'll work on that.
That's an ongoing process.
Yeah, let's talk about some good news.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some good news.
Yeah.
Oh, first, I'm Jill Chacha.
Oh, yeah.
And I am with the amazing, the talented, just had a very healthy dinner,
Yes.
Marissa Riley.
That's me. I grilled some chicken. I made a fucking sweet potato. It looked like a fucking Pinterest post. I feel very special.
See? Doing a little self-care
Yeah.
when the fabric of our democracy is literally burning.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's great.
I cannot wait to go back to hot Cheetos tomorrow.
Yes, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Yeah. But I did something nice for the bod tonight.
Tonight. There you go.
Just tonight.
I've got whiskey.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of whiskey and 2 ice cubes.
Amazing. I just had a couple glasses of wine with ice cubes. No shame. I wanted it to be cold, so I made it cold.
There you go. The woman's got the tools for the job.
I do.
Yes, welcome to episode 021. But before we get into the episode, I wanted to announce a little positive news. It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's small, but also big at the same time because it's about you guys and really what y'all have done. Earlier this month, this very fucking podcast broke into Apple's top 200 comedy podcasts in Mexico. In Mexico. Mucho amor, Mexico.
Mucho amor.
Everything. For everything. We ranked not once, but twice.
Yeah.
At 141 and at 183. And that's all because of listenership.
Because of you guys. Fucking amazing. Thank you,
amazing.
Mexico.
Thank you.
We love you.
Worldwide, man.
We love all of you, even people not in Mexico.
Yeah, we've got listeners. We do have one listener in Brazil who is a monthly supporter.
Amazing.
And that's the second bitter news, which is listenership without you. Man, let me just say, for the first time, we've been able to pay a bill just from this podcast.
That's so cool.
That's the craziest
That's
shit.
so cool.
We're geeking out over here, but it's a pretty big deal. And
it was a pretty big bill. It's a phone bill.
It's a phone bill.
How cool is that? Phone bills are way too expensive these days. We were able to pay one off.
So, at the end of every episode description, there is a link that says support this podcast. And some people just click it.
Yeah.
And for as little as $1 a month, they support us to live, which is very important. When you want to make a podcast, you gotta be alive.
You gotta be alive. It really helps. So yeah, keep supporting us so we can keep paying our phone bills and
making chicken dinners.
And making chicken dinners.
And thank you above all.
Thank you so much.
Thank
seriously.
you.
Yeah.
We wanted a little happy news and just a happy episode.
Yeah.
Episode 021. And we're thrilled and we wanted to celebrate in the most American way possible.
Yeah.
So we're going to shoot something out of a cannon.
Of course we are. Of course we are. What's more American?
Yeah. So we're rolling out the old-timey artillery. And first we are going to ask, what happens if an actual person were shot out of an actual cannon?
Excellent question. Not something I want to discover by experience.
No.
I don't want to live that one.
No, it's bad. Spoiler.
Sounds right.
After we clean up that fucking mess, we're going to talk about another mess, and that's the mess that is the 18th and 19th century, and the real shit that they shot out of cannons, and I assure you, I promise, it will have you saying, what the absolute fuck, at least 4 times.
Amazing.
And there's a video I want you to watch, and you have to describe it to our beautiful listeners. Great.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. So, let's begin.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's shall. Now, I mentioned a real cannon, okay? So let's not mistake a cannon used for, like, war for a circus cannon and being shot out of that. Should make a clarification with those two things. This portion of a circus act where a highly decorated, flamboyantly oversized cannon is rolled out and a stunt person gets inside of the barrel, that's known as a human cannonball.
Got it.
Now, I couldn't walk away from this distinction without acknowledging and giving a tip of the hat to the very first human cannonball, because when I discovered it, I had to bring this up. They deserve it because the year was 1877.
Yikes.
And you guessed it, that person was a child.
Of course they were. Of course they were.
Rosa Matilda Richter. She kind of broke a glass ceiling of sorts with her body at the tender age of 6.
Oh, God.
She began climbing into cannons, and by 14, she went professional.
Oh.
That's right.
I love that narrative. Not the narrative I thought it would be, which is some sort of terrible parental abuse.
Some child labor shit.
Absolutely.
She loved it as far as I read. Well, let's get into it. She went by the stage name Zazelle.
Which I love because it sounds like a demon.
It does.
Very cool to me.
A+ stage name, Zazelle. She worked her act at the Royal Aquarium in London until, of course, P.T. Barnum just scooped her up.
Of course.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to show you a photo of Zazelle in 1877, and I swear it so encapsulates being 14 in 1877.
Oh my God.
I really want you to, just to describe this photo. Okay. The photo will be available on our Instagram at That's Interesting Pod. All right. Scrolling, and this is Zazelle.
Got it. Okay. Where to begin?
Anywhere.
Let's start with the outfit. It looks like she's wearing the thickest tights I've ever seen in my whole life, which means she is technically kind of showing her legs, very risque at the time.
Very risque.
She's wearing the typical, I guess you would call it like a Victorian corset top.
Yes.
Like the top half of her looks like a classic Victorian high neck corset situation. And then instead of a long skirt, she's got these like frilly bloomers in like the most conservative way you can possibly imagine. It's not,
it's not sexy Victorian.
Not sexy at all. It looks like a frumpy diaper, but in a cute Victorian way. At the time, I'm sure this was a little risque. Okay, so, and then also she's sitting on a cannon, not straddling it. She's sitting like a lady. And she's got her hair done in the Victorian way. And then now her facial expression, she is absolutely miserable in this photo.
It's quite an expression. It's the one of a teen being forced to take a photo, I think.
Yes. I'm positive she loved everything she was doing. She was probably having a great day, but yeah, every photo of me as a 14-year-old, I looked like I wanted to die.
Yeah. And Zazelle, what a look.
What a look.
What a look. That cannon that she's on was the one that she used, and it was designed by Canadian William Leonard Hunt, and it had rubber springs attached to a platform for launching, and gunpowder was used, but only for like smoke and sound effects and, and the showiness. So
got it.
It wasn't on the inside.
Got
it. Was just on the outside.
Which makes it totally safe.
Yeah. Kind of. The tension of the coiled springs shot her approximately 60 feet up and 20 feet across into a net, which like blew the minds of Victorian audiences around the world. Now, I said approximately because these things were not consistent at all. No. It's worth noting that there was no exact calibration for these springs. You like literally wound them up and let it go. So Zazelle really had no idea where she was going to land every time the cannon was loaded.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's bad. I can't pretend that's good. That's a bad thing.
That's 1877, baby.
Wow.
Along with gymnastic and trapeze work, Giselle was a human projectile for 14 years.
Wow.
Until a fateful day in 1891, when performing in New Mexico. Quoting the newspaper The West Australian, quote, "Of this feat she was the originator, and has practiced it ever since she was 6 years old, with wonderful immunity from injury. But she failed in her performance the other day and fell 50 feet to the ground, receiving serious injuries which may put a quietus on her aerial leaps and flights." End quote.
No.
I know.
No.
The only info on her injuries I could get was that she broke her back and was in a full body cast for like several months.
Okay, but at least she lived.
She did live. She totally lived.
At that time, in that day and age, I feel like dying is very easy, especially when you fall from 50 feet.
When you fall, when you trip.
Yeah.
So going to the doctor could kill you in 1877.
Waking up could kill you.
Yeah, man, she was lucky compared to some of her counterparts. She lived and got to retire. But 30 other human cannonballs have died during a performance, and the last was in 2011.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this happens all the time.
This happens, well, yeah.
Some of the time.
Pretty recently. I'm sorry I laughed.
Hello, everyone. You may recognize me as Gabby from the History of Everything podcast.
And my name is Brenna, and you don't recognize me from anything yet.
Together, we're two scientists who explore all of the weird little questions and conspiracies of the universe in our new podcast, Mystery of Everything. Everything has an explanation.
We hope.
But that is what we're here to figure out. We will dive into the science behind many popular conspiracy theories, such as vaccines causing autism, flat earth theory, and was the moon landing fake? And if so, why the heck would anyone even do that?
But it's not just conspiracies. There's a lot of cool mysteries that we will attempt to use science to explain, such as near-death experiences, what made the Vikings go berserk, and can I control my co-host with MK Ultra?
Wait, what? Anyway, make sure to check out the Mystery of Everything podcast everywhere where you find your podcasts.
Hello everyone, Stakuyi here.
And I'm Gabby.
And we are the hosts of History of Everything, a podcast which you can probably guess by the name is, well, I mean, it's about everything. Do you want to know why people thought potatoes were evil and would give you syphilis? Are you curious about all the stories of the terrible and stupid ways that people have kicked the bucket over the years? Do you want to hear tales about all of the different badasses of history and the lives that they had brought to life? Well, if so, then look no further. History of Everything is just the right podcast for you. It's available on Spotify, Pandora, and anywhere else that you get your podcast from. Join us for some fun and just see how weird and wacky history can be.
Now, if you think this was dangerous, after the break, shit's gonna get real.
Oh, no.
So, stay with us. Stay with us for some explosives and a little bit of innocent, reckless behavior.
Oh, yeah.
Hey everyone, Jill Chacha here from Well, That's Interesting, and I am absolutely thrilled to tell you about Spotify for podcasters. I use it, I love it, and it all started by downloading the free Spotify for Podcasters app, which has all the tools you need in one place to record and edit your masterpiece of a podcast. Spotify for Podcasters also distributes your show to all major platforms. So when you hit publish, your episodes will stream not only on Spotify, but I'm talking about the Apples, the Googles, Stitcher, Good Pods, the other ones. You get the idea. And you can monetize your podcast with no minimum listenership required. You could also set up monthly subscriptions and record ads just like this one. So what are you waiting for? Download Spotify for Podcasters today and start changing the world. Oh, and please, stay interesting. And we're back.
We are so back.
We're so back. And we're going to crawl inside a real cannon.
Oh, no.
And as you probably assumed, it won't go well.
For sure not.
No, it won't. But it's going to be fun to imagine. Let's talk acceleration.
Okay.
Now, in 1/100th of a second, cannonballs, or in this case, you, would go from 0 to about 3,800 miles per hour.
Okay, so
Yes.
I don't know much about math
Okay.
or numbers,
Okay.
but that sounds really fast.
From 0 to 3,800 miles per hour.
Yeah, that sounds too fast for me.
Dear God. I'm going to read directly from one of my favorite books, And Then You're Dead by Cody Cassidy, because the description is so concise and awful and gross, and I love it.
Amazing.
And it's regarding this sudden 1/100th second of acceleration and the effects it has on the human body. Okay?
Funsies.
Quote, "This is the equivalent of 17,000 Gs, roughly 2,000 times greater than any astronaut has ever experienced. For a moment, you would, air quotes, weigh 2.5 million pounds. Your skull and your bones would instantly collapse along with all of your soft tissue, like organs, flesh, and muscle. Only the water in your body would resist. So, while still in the barrel, you would have lost your human form and become a small cylinder of reddish water with a very thin scum of crushed bone and flesh at the bottom of it." End quote.
What?
I know.
So, you wouldn't survive leaving the cannon, is what.
You got it. That's you absolutely as soon as that gunpowder would go off, you'd just be crushed.
Yeah. Okay,
Crushed,
so
yeah.
this might be the side of me that's been in quarantine for too long and has dark thoughts constantly, but is it weird that I want to see the flesh ball that the person becomes? Like I want, like I'm trying to put it together in my head, but
I don't think that's weird.
I want to see it. Not like I don't want to see it. I want like a really good drawing or like a painting.
Oh yeah, we can have an artist rendering.
Yeah.
you know.
Are you an artist, listeners?
Do you like to render?
Do you like to render flesh balls? Email us at wellthatsinterestingpod@gmail.com. And we'll talk to you about some rendering
That would be great.
of
We will
body
great.
balls.
That's fantastic. So that would be the first part of the rendering, and then we have the second part of the rendering. It's a very
Yeah.
but-
Also, I'm realizing it's cylinder, not ball. So it's a cylinder is like a tube.
yeah.
So, okay, my apologies. Not a flesh ball, a flesh cylinder tube thing.
There you go.
Okay, sorry. Back
Excellent.
to the podcast.
Back to the podcast, back to the mush. So
Great.
all of this mush, if you will, would exit the barrel, but at 3,800 miles per hour, air has barely enough time to get out of the way. And this causes friction, which results in heat, and a lot of heat. And now that you're mostly watery mush, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Would you like to read once more from And Then You're Dead?
I would love to. All right, quote, "Your final form would be a super hot mist ejected into the atmosphere at 5 times the speed of sound." Now, I would like to, that's the end of the quote.
It is.
For our artists out there who are eager to email us about the flesh cylinder, I would also like a rendering of the, I'm going to quote this again, super hot mist. Super hot body mist.
Yes.
That sounds like a fragrance from Victoria's Secret. The
Trademark.
teenage section.
Trademark. Oh God, yeah. Sweet Jesus. That would be that would be shooting someone out of a cannon.
You know, I think this is how I want to die.
What?
So when I'm like, 80 or 90,
That is a very Texas thing.
it's a very Texas thing. Let's, when I've had enough.
We're just gonna roll out the cannon. Just tell me, just roll out the cannon, baby,
Roll
and I'll
out
do
the
it.
cannon, and turn me into a super hot mist. There's a sex joke that I could make right now, but I won't. We'll save that for the Patreon.
That's right. That's for the Patreons. Those are for the people who pay.
Yeah.
let's keep this cannon. Let's keep this sexy cannon.
Okay.
And travel back in time, back to the 1800s.
Amazing.
What a wacky time.
For sure.
We're going to talk about four types of cannon ammo that are kind of bonkers when you think about the speed at which shit flies out of these things.
Yeah.
So this is going to be interesting.
Do they also turn into hot mist?
they turn into horrible, horrible things.
Amazing. I can't wait.
First up is the hot shot.
Ooh.
Now, why just shoot one cannonball when you can shoot a cannonball that's been heated to an insane degree? That's right. Now, according to Encyclopedia Britannica, iron balls, once upon a time, would be heated anywhere between 1,470 degrees Fahrenheit to 1,650 degrees Fahrenheit. And to do this, many coastal forts in the 18th to 19th century, they were equipped with these like special stone hotshot furnaces that kind of looked like little pizza ovens.
Cute.
Right? So here's a photo of one located at Fort La Latte in France. And what?
Oh
does
my
that look
God.
like?
It looks like a pizza oven.
It does.
For sure. It looks like something like a very rich person in like the Hollywood Hills would have in their backyard.
Yeah.
And then they would make their vegan pizzas there once every 5 years, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's got a little chimney. It's got even a little staircase up to the spot where you place like into the entrance.
Very rustic. And it is made with stones. It's got a little space. And it's on a grassy hillside, which is absolutely stunning.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, dropping an extremely hot piece of iron into a cannon loaded with gunpowder is a high-risk, high-reward situation. On one hand, if heated and loaded properly, your cannonball could easily set fire to your enemy's wooden ships.
Love that.
So, which, until the mid-1800s, most warships were fucking huge, but still mostly wood.
Yeah.
So it could do a lot of damage. But this method could easily go wrong. You needed someone with a lot of experience who could gauge the internal temperature of that furnace, because mercury thermometers only went up to like 673-ish degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
And ain't nobody had a fucking digital thermometer.
No, definitely not.
So, yeah. So
Definitely not with the pizza oven I'm looking at.
No. So somebody really had to know what the hell they were doing. Quoting Britannica, quote, "An overheated shot could warp the inside of a cannon and block the bore," which is like the barrel passageway, causing the entire thing to explode.
Got it.
End quote.
That's bad.
Very, very not good.
That's for sure bad.
Yeah. Which I assume, like, everybody around it would be killed.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Now, you would think this type of risk would stop Americans. No, nay.
Of course not.
The USS Constitution was outfitted with a hotshot furnace on board.
Wow.
Yeah, on board. And this risky move actually paid off in the War of 1812. Long story short, she flattened a British warship whose artillery just like couldn't compete, and the USS warship was just like fucking left unscathed. She
Amazing.
was like a hero, because of the hotshot on board. Anyway,
Right.
So maybe the Brits should have tried our next artillery option.
Ooh.
The chain shot.
Ooh.
And as I like to say, why shoot one cannonball at a time when you can shoot two?
I love that.
That's right.
Dose.
Before steam engines and gas engines, ye old warships or fucking any ship had to use wind to get around. And that meant a lot of mass.
Yeah.
Now, keep that in mind.
Okay. Masts.
Yeah, mass, wind, sails, etc.
Got it.
Now, if you were like a pirate and you wanted to take out a merchant ship, grab yourself 2 iron balls, join them together with a chain.
Oh, I've seen this before in a movie.
There you go. Maybe around 6 feet in length. You pop them in your cannon, and then honestly, you hope for the best. The goal for these wide-reaching, extremely fast projectiles was to rip through those masts.
Yeah.
And just like chop right through them, disabling the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and extra points if you caught anyone's limbs in the process.
Amazing. I'm like imagining like I can only do this with my hands. I'm trying to describe. So like I just imagine it being effective.
There you go, like end over end.
Yeah. Like
And extreme, just like ripping through whatever's in front of it.
exactly.
There you go. And yeah, it fucking worked. It worked until, there were no more masks to shoot down, which is sad.
That was probably a bummer day. They were like,
For somebody.
yeah,
For somebody. It's just,
I guess I'll go home.
bye, guys.
Bye.
But before we go, we have to talk about our last 2 shots. They're kind of similar, not only in their kind of form, but also in their brutality.
Ooh.
Let's start with the grape shot. Now, this is a canvas bag. So picture a canvas bag, and then you fill it with numerous iron balls about the size of a softball.
Okay.
And you tie it all shut with a rope.
Okay.
And this whole thing would be packed into a cannon.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It does.
Does it pay off?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool,
Now,
cool.
the name grape shot comes from the lumpy look of it, resembling supposedly like a cluster of grapes. But I think it looks more like a sack of potatoes. But potato shot just doesn't have that same ring to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Here's a photo of a grape shot. And what do you think this looks like?
I'm going to go with sack of potatoes.
Sack of potatoes,
Definitely sack of potatoes. And it's got rope tied around it in a way that I feel like, how do I say this? Like S&M people tie up ropes. Have you seen that?
Like across the chest.
Yeah.
Down your like torso.
Back in the day when I had a Tumblr account, those photos would always come out of nowhere and you'd be like, oh, they did it really well that time. So yes, that's kind of what it looks like around a sack of potatoes.
There you go. Sexy S&M potato sack.
Exactly. There we go.
Okay. So the purpose, now we're going to quote from Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica once again, quote, "The bag would break apart upon firing, releasing the balls much like a modern shotgun.
Aha.
On land, a grape shot could devastate troops at close range and was used in a number of wars in the 18th and 19th centuries. At sea, it was an effective tool against crews on deck and had the added benefit of disabling sails and rigging." End quote. So,
That sounds very effective.
Yeah.
It's got a lot going for it.
yeah, think of it as like a modern day cluster bomb.
Yeah.
It's packed and it kind of has the ability to take out like groups of people and structures, but the only control you have is like the direction you shot it in.
Yeah.
Because once that bag explodes, anything in its general direction is vulnerable to its shrapnel. This shit was just as chaotic as it was dangerous. And, well, chaotic, dangerous. This leads us to our last shot and America's Civil War favorite, the canister shot.
Yeah.
Now, instead of a canvas bag, you have yourself something the size of and the make of a large soup can.
Fun.
Okay, so picture maybe 2 soup cans
Okay.
together. Inside that large can, you've got small iron balls, but also nails, barbed wire, glass, and whatever you like for shits and giggles.
I love it. Anything you can find.
Really anything.
Throw it in.
Now, I said it was an American Civil War favorite. So, those who like to reenact the Civil War, they love these shots too. And I would love to show you a video of some folks role-playing as Union soldiers standing in a field with a cannon, firing off canister shots. Because, yes, why not?
Wow.
Yeah. So, there's a shit ton of these on YouTube, so feel free to choose your own favorite. The one we're going to watch, in the description, it says this video, it states that the people firing off the cannon, they fired off 17 rounds, each containing 27 1.5-inch diameter steel balls. So no barbed wire, no glass, just...
Damn. I was hoping for a big thing of crap.
So, just as an example of the fucking chaos once these things are released, I would love to show you this video. And please describe a canister shot just out in the open in an American field.
I would love to.
I'm going to turn up the volume. And
they've got outfits. Okay.
They've got outfits. They're all decked out in their Union gear. There's a cannon there.
Yeah.
All right. And here we go.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay. So, what does that look like to you?
So, okay. So basically when it fires, tons of smoke comes out of the cannon. And then, and they're on this big field, and then far away from them in the same field, there are like a bunch of tiny little smoke eruptions coming up from the ground, which I am assuming are the crap that was in the canister.
Exactly.
And it's a lot, but I never saw any of it. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's basically invisible else through the air because it's so fast. And then
crazy.
when it hit the ground, you saw like the cannon go off 3 times, and each time it was like completely different. It hit, right?
Completely different. There was one that was like a big long line of them. This is like a tiny little cluster. It's different every time. It's very unpredictable.
Yeah.
But I can see how that could take out like, the deck of a ship or something like that.
Or just anyone anywhere that's like even hundreds of feet in front of this cannon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Yeah, that was an American favorite. Feel free to look it up on YouTube.
Give it a shot.
And my friends, that is the top 4 cannon shots plus a human being. That's the end of our episode 021.
I love it.
And
I loved it.
feel free to support us, email us. We're really so thankful.
So thankful.
Yeah. And, we love you.
We
and we're
love
thankful.
you. Stay sane during these times. You're safe with us.
Right. Stay sane and stay interesting.
Please do.